Welcome to the Bougie Baldie podcast with your host, Kellie Rhymes.
Society promotes beautiful long hair. They promote that as beauty. And because society promotes that as beauty, many women out here feel like if they don't have this long, beautiful hair, they're ugly. And that is far from the truth. Oh, I see you cut your hair. And I'm like, yeah. But then she's like, but don't you want to just leave a little bit of hair? Once again, did you ask me what was going on, why I cut my hair? And so out of respect, because she was an older lady, in my mind, I wanted to say, do you know me like that? Like, you don't know me like that, right? Yeah.
I just feel like we have reached a pinnacle in society where there is a lack of respect for people that are different than you. Yeah. And I think it becomes a broader conversation that we need to have because everybody is different and we all have the right to be different.
Yes. A lot of times when people approach us in a negative manner, it's because of a character defect or flaw that they have in their personality.
I think that us, along with the rest of the community, that we have some work to do because a lot of the questions and approaches that we get from folks who are not in the community is, I think, out of ignorance. And as baldies, I think we have the responsibility to start to educate and reach out more so that people can be aware and understand what's acceptable and what's not acceptable.
So I just left the office like, look, guess I'll just be wearing this wig. Didn't even know how to buy a wig at first. Looking a hot mess. Went to the beauty supply with my 60-some-year-old cousin, and she wore a wig, and I'm like, I need help. And she's like, okay. And we just trying to pick something out. It was a hot mess. Yes, you don't think that bald women look good in a gown? Well, let me show you. Yes, we do. And we can still get glammed up, and we still look classy, and we still look beautiful.
But it was still very emotional when I first lost my hair and having to touch my head and see it in my hand and was just like, okay, this is very real.
She took my hand. She took my face on my hands and he said, honey, you are beautiful, but you really need to color here. She said, I suggest you find a wig that you like and go from there. And I left her office bawling, but I also felt so good because for the first time someone told me something that actually made sense to me.
Right now, I could grow my hair back out, but I love being bald, so I don't. So I still feel those questions of, so when are you gonna grow your hair back up? Are you growing your hair back out? No, I'm not, because like Denisha said, I was born to be bald.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the Bougie Baldie podcast. I am Kellie Rhymes. I am the host of the podcast. I'm also a women's hair loss support and authenticity coach and a TV producer of the Bougie Baldie Show, which is a extension of this podcast. So I'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show so you can find out where you can go and actually watch the TV show. Now, today we have another great guest. Her name is Sandra McNair. So let me tell you about Sandra McNair Moy, all right? She is a 58-year-old woman. She's a wife, a mother of one, an inflammatory breast cancer survivor, alopecia warrior, a recovering crack addict since 1994, an incarceration relocation college graduate, associate, and bachelor's degree, and a two-time retiree. She is also legally blind, a sister, a daughter, and an African-American woman who is here to share her life experience, not just with alopecia, but with all kinds of things she has had to conquer and overcome within her life. She's going to share her journey. I'm going to learn more about her as well as you because she has a magnificent story to tell. We've talked a little bit about it, but we didn't go into much detail or too depth because I didn't want to ruin the podcast. I want to learn more while we're on the podcast. So welcome, Sandra. Say hello to everyone.
Hey, hey, hey. It's your girl, Sandra.
Well, let's go ahead and let's jump in, Sandra. Now, you've faced, just from me reading your bio, people already know you've been through a lot, right? And you faced
Yeah.
numerous challenges throughout your life, including hair loss due to alopecia and battling cancer. So,
Yeah.
can you share with us your journey and how these experiences shaped your identity today?
Okay. Short story, God and faith. Faith. Through it all, always God and faith kept me going. I don't know. I think it started at, as a child, really, I started having seizures when I was 3 years old.
Hmm.
So, my parents sheltered me. I couldn't, they didn't want me to go out and play, because I might get hurt, I might have a seizure. So I think it kind of started there with, I would call it resilience. It's like no matter what, I'm going to overcome.
So, what that started when you were three. You had the
Hmm.
seizures. Do they know what caused the seizures, or I mean, or did they ever find out?
No, no, they never really had a diagnosis. It was always, it could be this, it could be that, it could be this, it could be that. And even to this day, there's still no science has not figured out what exactly causes seizures. There's several different forms of seizures, and kinds of seizures, and from being too drunk or hitting your head, or different things. So they really don't know.
Okay. Now, are you still experiencing that, or no? That kind of phased out as you grew older, or
um as I grew older, they kind of changed their form. I was able to identify if a seizure was coming on. I could let you know. And I guess as I got older, I don't take medication for seizures anymore.
okay,
And it's like periodically, once in a slight while, if I'm really exhausted, things are going on, I'm stressed, high level stress, I might have a seizure, but not often.
okay. So, based off of just starting at an early age of three with health, concerns, going, into your adult life, getting with the alopecia and battling cancers, how did that make you who you are today? I know you said, it was God and faith,
Hmm.
but your identity today, what is your identity today based off of those things?
My identity today is I'm very confident, and not in a cocky, arrogant way. I just believe that if I put my mind to something, I can accomplish it. Um, I don't believe in failure. And I say that because, I will start something with a whole lot of energy, and then I may decide I need a break from this. Or something may happen and I have to stop. And I say that to say I started Black Ministry School to become a minister.
Hmm.
And I started back in 2015. And I went all the way up until my last three classes, and life happened. I lost my vision.
Mm. Okay.
So I had to stop going to school. But I never thought in the back of my mind, like, I'm not going to go back. I'm not going to finish it.
Hmm.
And fast forward, this fall, I'll be finishing my last three classes to become a minister.
Okay.
It's,
Okay.
so it's
Good.
like I never give up. I never give up. Um, when I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer, I didn't even know what that was. I didn't know what it was. I just knew I had to do chemo. I had to continue working. I just knew what I had to do, and I always felt God had a plan. God has a plan for me because He's brought me through so many different things. So drug addiction, being locked up, mistaken identity, being locked up for larceny, and it's like all of these things happened in my life, and I'm still here.
Right.
So in my mind, some may say, "Oh, okay, she might be little slow," but in my mind, I just feel like, these things did not happen, and I came through to the other side for nothing.
Mm, yep. Yep. There's always a lesson in it, right? Whatever we go
Mm-hmm.
through, there's always a lesson.
Yes.
So you mentioned the inflammatory breast cancer, and I've also mentioned the alopecia. Um, how did this, or what did you learn about? I guess you kind of answered this a little bit, but the resilience and strength. Like,
Hmm.
that takes a lot to get through those
Yes.
things. Those are not
Mhm.
small things, right? Um,
Right.
so due to your own resilience and strength, what do you believe is important for other people to hear?
Um, you know what? That's a double-edged question for me because I want to say don't don't be so invested in what other people hear. Be more invested in what you hear, like in your heart.
Hmm.
So regardless of what, you know, um, my parents love them to death, been married 60 years. That's a lot of my resilience comes from them. How
Okay.
my parents were raised, and raising their siblings, and it's nine of them, and had to go to work and walk miles and all of that. And so I get a lot of that strength and resilience from my parents as well. But you know, um, I'm the type of person, and I really can't speak for anyone else, but I'm the type of person that I don't, it doesn't matter to me what someone else is saying to me. If I believe in my heart, like, look, I'm beautiful. I
Mhm.
could have one ear, one eye, half a nose. If I look in the mirror and I say I'm beautiful, you cannot tell me otherwise.
Right.
You know, if I don't like that outfit. If I look in the mirror and I like my outfit, I like my outfit. You
Yep.
can't tell me otherwise.
Yep. And that comes with that, well, that, of course, that's self-love. We know that. And people, and still
Hmm.
there's many people out there who still have to grow into that and don't
Yes.
have that confidence. But that's what I tell people all the time. Like, when something like us, or people like us, where we
Hmm.
don't have hair, you know what I mean? Like, that's not really the norm. So you have
Right.
to have confidence. You have to have self-love. Like, you have
Yes.
to hold your head up high, because if you ever walk into a room and you look defeated, you
Yes.
look like you're insecure, you're gonna get that back. But
It
if you walk into,
shows.
yeah, it shows. But
Yes,
if
it
you walk
does.
into a room confident with your head high, like, you can't tell me anything because I know I look good, people
Hmm.
perceive you like that. They may look, don't get me wrong, because again, it's
Yeah.
gonna be different for them, but still, they're gonna say, "Oh, okay, but she looks good
Hmm.
like that," or she's confident. It's like it's gonna automatically be a positive
Hmm.
reaction or a thought because you're
Yes.
coming off that way, right?
Correct. Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So walk us through this, because I mean, I know we talked about a little bit about some of the struggles you've had in life, right? But we
Hmm.
don't know the timeline. So I know
Okay.
that you are a college graduate and you've been to ministry school and you're on your way to finishing that up.
Yes.
At what point of life did those things start? Like, did you, like, were you addicted to drugs and had all of these other experiences before you started your education, or was it after? Kind of walk us through that timeline and what led you
Okay.
to pursuing your education and making those decisions.
Okay. So the timeline is starts right after high school. I went off to college directly from high school,
Okay.
and I went to Johnson C. Smith University, and historically black. Yes.
Hmm.
I went there, and essentially I bombed. I did about a year and a half and bombed out, came back home.
Okay.
Started my career at Yale New Haven Hospital. in 1987. Okay. Fast forward from 1987 to 1994, I started using drugs in 1993.
Okay.
Um, I was addicted to crack. I went off to rehab, and I'm summing this up to make it, so you can just see the timeline.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I went off to rehab. I did 90 days in rehab. I came back home. I followed the NA law and the 12-step program, and I went to meetings, and I stayed clean essentially
Mm-hmm.
from 94 till today.
Today, sir. Okay.
Yeah. And so in between that time though, in 95, in 96, I relocated to the DMV area. I lived in Virginia, Maryland, DC for a few years, and then I came back home.
Okay. And home is
98,
New Jersey, correct?
home is Connecticut.
Connecticut. I'm sorry, Connecticut.
Connecticut. Family in New Jersey, but I'm from Connecticut. But I come back home. I got married in 98. I had my son. I stayed married for 17 years. And then I got divorced. During that time, and 2001, I was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer. It was a real struggle for me. I did not tell anybody for a few months. I started aggressive chemo for 6 months. Through the grace of God, I am breast cancer free. Then I started losing my hair after I lost my son. I started losing my hair from alopecia a few years after I had my son. I noticed that my hair was thinning, but it wasn't anything major. I didn't know anything about alopecia or anything. I just thought my hair was getting thin. And so fast forward in 2006, I went natural with my hair. I was using kind of fillers to hide the bald spots.
Mm-hmm.
I had by then gone to a dermatologist and found out that I had traumatic alopecia. And I don't want to get way into alopecia, but there are several forms of alopecia.
Yeah, because
Um,
that's the first time I've heard you said it was traumatic alopecia.
traumatic
I haven't heard that one.
alopecia.
I'm gonna have to look it up.
Yeah,
Okay.
yes. And so um, it was kind of like, okay, what can be done? Not a lot of information. And so, I went about, wearing wigs and wraps and all of that. And then it was Sunday night, girl. I didn't put my bonnet on, and I was natural and didn't do what I was supposed to do the night before. Woke up Monday morning. I was like, I have had it. I can't do this no more. I grabbed the clippers and I shaved my head and I went off to work and I never looked back.
Okay. Just like that. Just like this
Just
is it right here, done. So when you went to
then
work, how did
I
they
went to
receive you?
work, and of course they greeted me like, "Hey, Sandra," but it was kind of like, look said everything. You could have been talking, reading, singing. The look was saying everything. Like, girl, what is going? And I'm the type of person, I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm gonna wait for you to say something.
Uh-huh.
And so I went about my day and worked and did everything. And finally, one girl was just like, girl, what's going on? And I said, you know what? I have had it. And I said, shout out to Dexter's Barbershop in New Haven, Connecticut. I got off work. I went to the barbershop. I was like, can you clean this up? And he was just like, what's going on? I was like, just clean it up. He was like, are you sure this is what? I was like, yeah.
Mhm.
And I've been bald since 2007.
Okay. So when you cut it off with the clippers, did you just do like a really close, like was it slick bald or is this like a low kind of cut?
Well, what it was is no, the clippers, because I didn't put a guard on. I didn't even know what I was doing. I just,
Oh, you didn't have a
yeah,
guard, so you was bald.
no,
Okay, I
yeah.
know.
But it
Okay.
was like, because, traumatic is all around here.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the complete bozo, because I had hair along here. I just had the big hole in the middle of my head.
Okay.
And so that's how it had just grew. It started off as a little hole and grew into a big hole. But
Mm-hmm.
in any case, so when I cut without the guard, it's like I had hair, you know, like the 5 o'clock shadow hair, because it wasn't bald
Mm-hmm.
to match
Mm-hmm.
the middle.
Yeah, so you have the shadow around the sides and then the bald at the top. So that's why they was looking at you like you was crazy. Okay, I see now. Now I have the image in my head.
Yes, yes. And it didn't occur to me to like put a hat on, a scarf on. I literally just said, I put my makeup.
Oh gosh.
I put my makeup on because I was a business manager.
Oh, so you put the management on top of that. So
Yeah,
people have to see you.
my makeup on, my little suit, everything went right on in there. Like, this is, look, this the new thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So after you made that decision, what was your family or support or your support system? What was that like?
Well, you know what? My family's really great. Um, and I didn't really have nobody really had anything to say, outside of, wow, that's really bold. But I'm gonna say my dad. My dad, OG, he back in the day, a woman had to have the beautiful hair, and he was just like, you can wear a wig, you can do this, you can do, it's like, but I don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so, I don't think he never said, I don't like it. He never used those words, but I could tell he wasn't really liking it in the beginning. But now my dad thinks, oh, when I walk in the room, it's like, that's my girl. Look at my girl.
Good, good. So after you went back that next day, I know you got it cleaned up at the barbershop, so you went back to
Mhm.
work. How did your staff or co-workers and everybody at work receive you that second day?
The second day, it was kind of, then the questions, it's kind of like, hey, what's going on? And, I was like, hey, I got this traumatic alopecia and my hair ain't grown back. I don't, I just don't want to fight anymore. And they're like, well, so you just not gonna have hair? You're not gonna wear a wig? I'm like, if I want to wear a wig, I'm gonna wear a wig, because in the beginning when I first shaved my head, if I wanted to wear a wig, I wore a wig. I wore a head wrap. I did whatever I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It was like, short story. I changed the rules at Yale New Haven Hospital because I would wear head wraps sometimes, and I'm like, they were like, you can't do that, and they put it in the dress policy that you can wear head wraps now, especially if you have some kind of hair loss or something or
A
another.
medical condition, which,
Yes.
yeah, and even still, if you, let's just say you're a Muslim and you need to cover your head up, like you
Mm-hmm.
can't prevent people from doing that. That's,
Yep.
legally you can't do that. So good, good. Well, I'm glad like when you went back that next day, they at least asked questions to gain
Yeah.
knowledge and not like
Yeah.
shun away from you, because sometimes people will start talking and gossiping, just being petty and negative
Yeah.
instead of
But
really inquiring to find out, are you okay? What's happening?
right.
How can we support you? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what, I think throughout having alopecia, or having a bald head, because like I said, when I shaved my head, there was no, like, there's a lot of information about alopecia now. There's a lot
Yeah.
of groups and so on and so forth. I'm going to shout out Women with Alopecia
Hmm.
Community
Hmm.
Incorporated. I am the branch leader for Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island. Hey, shout out to our founder, Angela Leonard. Um, Back to our program. I'm sorry.
That's fine.
um, but yeah, there really wasn't a lot of information, about alopecia. So, the first, when people would see me initially with a bald head, or even now, sometimes, people automatically think, oh, they must have, that person must have cancer, because because people just don't know. So, I decided to, advocate, for alopecia, because, I was like, although I don't feel like I struggled with having alopecia. I feel like people need to know, you
Yeah.
know, about alopecia. I'm going to do another shout out to LaDonna Telford. She wrote a children's book, Where is My, What Happened to Your Hair?
Mm-hmm.
And, it's an example of how even adults, not just children, will stare instead of ask questions. So what
Right.
happened to your hair? And so I, going through, let's see, I've been bald, I guess, almost 20 years now. I remember I was out somewhere with my sister, and no females were bald then, really.
Right.
And this lady just kept staring at me and staring at me and staring at me. And finally she walked over to me and she said, "You are absolutely gorgeous."
Mm-hmm.
And that was really like the first time since having a bald head that somebody actually, you know, came up to me. And
Right.
I think I had been bald then probably a little over a year.
Mm-hmm.
But I would get stares, but nobody ever said anything. And
Mm-hmm.
she was like, she was like, your face, the bald head, and she was like, "Ah, I wish I could do that."
Yeah. Yeah.
And and it was like at that moment, because like I said, when I first did it, it was like, hey, I'm just tired. But it was at that moment that I really looked at myself and I was like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And
And it was like
go ahead.
that that's when my confidence with having a bald head like went to a whole different level.
Yes, yes. And that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, yeah, people will look, but again, when you carry yourself a certain way, that's the
Mhm,
reaction you're going to get. Like,
mhm,
wow, I never thought I could see a woman who has a bald head that's beautiful because it's a shock to
mm,
people.
yes,
It's just not it at least a while ago it was not the norm. It's not
right.
really the norm now, but there are more women who are saying, you know what, I'm done. I'm
Yeah.
embracing my
Hmm.
baldness, my body, and I'm gonna keep it moving and I look good. And we have all kinds of things that have come from that. We got pageants, we got
Yes.
conferences, we got podcasts, we got TV shows, we got all kinds of stuff based around
And,
being bald as a woman.
and
So
it's like everything you watch, everything you see on TV, there's a bald woman somewhere.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Now, you talked a little bit about your advocacy work and what you're
Hmm.
involved in. And I want you to repeat that because this show, like my podcast, is about promoting people and giving resources
Hmm.
to people who are experiencing some form of alopecia so they know where they can go and get
Hmm.
some support and help. So go
Hmm.
ahead and right now, since we are on the topic of advocacy, mention the groups that you are a part of, how people can connect to them, how they can find whatever resources they need to find.
Okay. Well, the largest community that I am connected with is Women with Alopecia Community Incorporated. We are on Facebook. We are a Facebook community, but we are a living community as well. It is so you could go on Facebook for Women with Alopecia, and there's a few questions that you have to answer, and to get into the community. And I keep saying community because we're a community, we're not a group. We are a community of women. Our mantra is we support our sisters. We're a sisterhood, and we do more than just advocate for alopecia. That's what brought us together. It's the sisterhood that keeps us growing, and that sisterhood consists of, we help you with grievance. We help you with support with the what's going on with alopecia. We're just starting We're going to have Sister Talk on Wednesday nights at 6 o'clock, where you can just come in and it's a Zoom and you can ask questions and get answers. And so it's like we're more than just alopecia. That's what brought us together. So that's the biggest incorporation that I'm involved with. I also advocate for alopecia and substance abuse, incarceration. I'm involved with so many things. So I think that's about
Yeah.
it.
Okay. So people can go to Facebook. They can find the Women with Alopecia's group.
Yes.
Oh, is it Women with Alopecia of, is that
It's
right?
Women with Alopecia, but we also have a website so that you can do a search for Women with Alopecia Incorporated, WWA Community .com. www.community.com. We have a website, so you can go to the website as well.
Okay, good, great. So if anybody out there who's looking for some support and want to check out the group, make sure you look at the Facebook group and the website so that you can see if it's a good fit for you. Okay. Now let's get into a book, because I know you are thinking about, or you're in the process of the beginning processes of writing your book, right? Now am I correct? Correct me if I'm wrong.
I wrote my
You already
book
wrote the
already.
book.
My book was published in 2014. I left that
Okay.
out of the little storyline, but the book was published in 2014. Sad story. It's no longer in publication. During COVID, my publishing company went out of business, so it's no longer in publication. I am looking to get it republished, and I'm working on book two. That's what I'm going to be doing,
Okay,
working
there
on
we
book
go. That's what I was like. I
two.
know it was something. Okay, so there we go. The book number two. So let's do this. Give us a summary of book number one. And is book number two an extension of book number one, or is it something totally different? Talk about all of that. And
Um,
book number two is going to be about.
okay, so book number two, yes, will be an extension of book number one, but it's going to kind of go back and forth into what was really going on during, and I'm going to say like during my addiction, because those are things like after addiction, and I came out of this cloud and realized, okay, this is me, and I need to get in touch with my feelings and what causes me, and A, B, C, D, So
Mhm.
it's kind of one of those I don't want to say thriller dramas, but it's more in depth. It's going to be a little more in depth.
Okay. Okay. So are you going to share a little bit about what? So, I mean, I know you're saying it's about the incarceration and, the journey part of it,
Hmm.
right? So let's,
Yeah.
for the people who haven't read, like myself, I haven't read book one. So what was
Mhm.
book one? So then we
Book
can connect the
one.
dots.
Okay, book one was called "Who Am I? The Pieces of Me."
Okay.
Um, and in essence, we all are put together by the same pieces, surfacely, especially. We're mothers, we're sisters, we're parents, we're African American women, we may be teachers, professionals, and all of this. And at the end of the day, it's like my book, the book that I wrote is loosely based on my life.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
the my journey through life. And the book was written, well, actually, I keep saying the book, it was written as a journal to my son,
Okay.
to show him, the trials and tribulations that I've gone through to get to where I am now. Because my son viewed me as like the perfect person, the perfect mom. And it wasn't until my son's first year in college that he realized that mom was not so perfect. I took some of my son's college money and spent it for my personal use, and he found out when he went off to college.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And it was at that point, 18 years old, like, oh, wait a minute, my mom is not so perfect. So the book was supposed to be a journal to my son to show him how imperfect, that I am, because I'm still not perfect. I'll never be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I make better choices now.
Right.
Thank God. But so the first book kind of took you on a journey of Dora, which is a nickname that my sister and my nephew's father gave me back in college, and it kind of stuck. Because in a sense, I was an explorer. I would just do things. It was nothing for me to just say, I'm just gonna, okay, mom, I'm leaving. I'm moving to Virginia, and I'm gonna figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
No job lined up or nothing. Just moved to Virginia with a roommate, and you know, and went from there, and you know,
Yeah. Taking a
so
leap, that leap of
yeah,
faith. You've always had
yeah,
that leap of faith, it sounds like. That's
yes,
a little bit
yes.
like myself because I'm the different person in my family who takes those leaps. Like,
Hmm.
I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go to China and work for a year. Or like now,
Yeah.
I'm in Colombia. I'm gonna move me and my kids to Colombia because I want to be in a safer environment, even though people don't think Colombia is safe. It actually is. You
Hmm.
know, let me put it like this: every country has its issues. We already,
Exactly. Exactly.
so I definitely understand that explorer, Dora the Explorer
Yes.
concept and how just jumped out there. So when your son read the first book, that gave him a better understanding of his mom, of course.
Hmm.
How did that affect your relationship?
Um. Well, at that time, I was married to his dad. And it didn't really affect my relationship at that time at all. I think m- m- my son he loved it. He was just
Okay.
like, mom, I never knew,
Yeah, and that's what I
you
was
know
thinking, like getting a better understanding of you
yeah,
as a woman, not just mom, a
yeah,
woman, this world
yeah,
and things you've been through.
yeah. So he would ask questions like, mom, how did you get through this? And he says, so it also doing that, it gave me the opportunity to like really have a conversation with him, like how I got through it, what was going through my mind during these times, of my life,
Mm-hmm.
because what was going through my mind at that time, looking at it now, it's like, what was I thinking? Like, why didn't I think this? Why didn't I think I was going to get caught? Like, did I
Mm-hmm.
really think? And I'm like, at that time in my head, I really thought, I'm not going to get caught.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's like, and so it kind of gives him that insight, like, well, like in his words, well, I won't do that then, you know?
Right. A lesson learned. I don't even have to go down that road because mom
Yeah, I
had
don't
I
have to
already
think
know how
about
that
it or
turns out.
anything, because he's like, well, shoot, I might have thought that too. Like my husband now, he used this analogy, and this is so funny, and he says, he's like, so if you're sitting outside eating, at like a bistro or something, and all of a sudden you see a whole bunch of people come running by, what do you do? What do you do, Kelly?
I would get up and run because obviously something's going on that I don't want to be a part of.
Kelly, my son and myself both were like, we would sit there like, why are we going to get up and run? First of all, my husband said, neither one of you are black, because a black person, especially a black person, is going to get up and run and find out what's going on after the fact.
Uh-huh. Or at
My
least go
son,
inside someplace and get out the way.
he asked us separately. My son didn't know my answer. I didn't know my son. And we both was like, we would sit
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But you know what? That leads to the point that by sharing our stories, it connects with other people. You know what I mean? Who may be going through similar challenges or may not, but they can learn from us so they don't repeat those same mistakes. So that's
Yes,
the value of sharing your story in any format, right?
yes, yes,
So book number two is you're working on that.
yes.
And it's gonna be, we don't know when it's coming out yet, right? Is that correct?
No, we don't. And I just want you to know this is an exclusive because I have not talked to anybody about
Oh,
book number two.
okay. I get the exclusive. Thank you. Well, hopefully I get to hear when it's done. You can come back on and we can talk more about it. So I'm not gonna keep digging into it because I don't want to ruin anything.
Okay. And I will send you a copy of book number one. I do have some of my own,
Okay.
personal ones. They're just not, like I said, if you can find one on Amazon or used books or something like that, then God bless you. You're lucky because they're not in publication anymore.
Okay, got it, got it. All right, well, let's go into, we've talked about like facing adversity a little bit, but as someone who's faced significant adversity while also being now legally blind, because you weren't legally blind then, but now you are, what advice would you give those who find themselves feeling overwhelmed by life or by circumstances or by things happening? Because right now I'm just gonna be honest right now at this moment in time. I feel overwhelmed just with life, period. I mean, nothing drastic is going on. It's just like so much in the world is happening. And then, so that makes, yes, I'm concerned about what the world, even though I know I can't do much about what's happening in the world. But then it makes little things in the daily life feel more of a struggle because it's like, I feel like I got to prepare for what's happening in this world. But
Mhm.
now I feel stuck because I feel like I'm overwhelmed by so much stuff. And what
Mm,
direction do I go? And, how do I plan for the future when we don't know what the future is going to look like at this point in time, during
right.
this point of this podcast, right? So it's like,
Hmm.
I can understand feeling that overwhelmed feeling and feeling stuck.
Right.
I don't even know where to
Mm.
go. I just got to stay still. We talk about in religion how whenever you don't know what to do, stay
Be
still,
still. Be
right?
still.
Be
That's all I
still
was
and let it
thinking,
come to
Kelly.
you.
Be still. Be still.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Definitely something I have had to keep reminding myself. Like it's okay to rest because
Yeah.
you mentioned that earlier.
Hmm.
Resting and sit back and be still and just wait and watch
Hmm.
and then kind of
Yep.
go from there. But my brain is always like, you got to think ahead. You got to plan. You don't want to wait till it's too late and then you caught up. That whole saying, get ready so you don't, I mean, be ready so you
Uh,
don't get ready, right?
Exactly. Exactly. And I'm totally, you know, I totally feel you, and I'm like that too. And like I said, when I get like that, because I see it, it's like, girl, you got too much going on. That plate is overflowing. You need to sit down. It's like I have to start telling myself,
Mhm.
like preparing myself, like you need to be still. You need to sit down because just before this podcast, like I said, since last Friday, I have been moving, moving. Then I got sick, and then and I said to my husband, I said, baby, I'm tired. I need to sit down. I need to
Mhm.
sit down. And so, I get it. And life happens. It's like that. That's why we're living, for life to happen.
Yeah.
We cannot prepare for everything. And it's like we have to, I know for me, I have to, constantly tell myself you cannot prepare for everything. So
Mhm.
find something, focus on that. Yeah, be aware of everything else that's going on, but don't get so consumed in everything because you will
Yeah.
make yourself crazy.
Very much so. Very much so. You will be worried, crazy, can't sleep, all kinds
Hmm.
of things happening, and it's affecting your health, which is not going to help you in the long run, right?
Yes, yes. That
So,
inner peace, you got to always bring it back to that inner peace. Prayer, I just start praying. God, I'm moving. I'm doing too much. Help me. Help me.
Yep.
Sit me down. What is your will? Whatever it is, because I can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Or even just what are my next steps? What am I
Yeah.
supposed to do next?
Yep.
Because at this point, you know
What?
how and these are things like as I've gotten older, I've had to kind of be more aware of and really see for myself. It just it's lessons, where it's like you sit still and you see what comes next. Or
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, like I've talked about on this podcast, you have to have that blind faith. Because, like, even me starting this whole journey of hopping
Mm-hmm.
online, doing the podcast and doing the show and doing the work that I do in regards to educating and bringing knowledge to people about hair loss in women. I hadn't, this was never my agenda in life, when the idea popped up, I kept rejecting it. I was like, no, I'm not gonna share my story. I'm not gonna talk, when I finally
Right.
accepted that God, this is what God wants me to do, then it was like, okay, but how do I do it? So
Right.
it's like every step of my journey with this, the advocacy work that I do and the, things that I do with the hair loss. Um, it's been really blind faith. I don't know what's gonna come from it. I don't know what's gonna come from the
Mm-hmm.
podcast, the show. Like I have no clue. And
Yep.
almost to the point to where like I don't really look at a lot of other people's stuff, other advocates out there. I don't because in my mind, I don't want to get into that whole syndrome of, well, they're doing this better than me, or they, like in your mind, how
Yep.
you create that
Like I
competition,
said,
it's
mind
not.
your business. Mind your
Yeah.
business. This is
So
what I'm
I'm not
focused on
looking at a
that.
lot of people's stuff and all in the groups like that because I have to focus on just my stuff, right? I just because I just need to focus on getting it out, making sure it's quality, making sure it's something that people, want to
Right.
listen to, want to watch, and making sure it's valuable information. So
Right.
yeah, that blind faith though is it's a lot.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
So let's go into my final question, and that is just giving some words of wisdom. So, what advice would you give to someone who is currently struggling with anything? It could be hair loss, illnesses, addiction. What words of advice would you give them, and how can they find hope and strength through their own journeys?
Um, I would say, first and foremost, whatever you may be struggling with, going through, um, I would hope that you had someone that you could talk to about it. Talking about it is the first step. It's kind of like, I guess, any kind of addiction, accepting that, okay, I have a problem. I have an issue that's going on that needs to be addressed. If it's alopecia and you're struggling with alopecia, um, um, alopecia is not all about shaving your head off,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I would say to be positive and be gentle with yourself. Don't be so concerned with everybody or the noise around you. Um, be gentle and kind to yourself. Love yourself.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Definitely. Those are some great words of advice. And what about how can they find hope and strength through their own journey?
Um, I'm a very spiritual person. I don't like to say religious because it may push people away, but I'm very spiritual, and I believe that through our Lord, anything is possible.
Mm-hmm.
Anything is possible. Be confident, and like I said, not in an arrogant way, not in a cocky way, but just be confident. Um, and through that confidence, you will start seeing things differently because a lot of times what we see can affect how we feel about ourselves. This goes into that whole sociology thing and what society thinks. You know,
Mm-hmm.
if you look in the mirror, and that's another thing, look in the mirror. every day. A lot of people do not look in the mirror. They
Yeah.
get up, they shower, they get dressed, and they're on their way. They don't take the time to look at yourself. Look at
Mm-hmm.
yourself every day in the mirror, even if you have to put a yellow sticky up there just to remember to look at yourself. Because
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe looking at yourself, and it's real corny to thine own self be true. If you're looking at yourself, you can see you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So look at yourself in the mirror every day.
That's a good piece of advice because I know even for myself, like you said, I'm in the bathroom, I'm getting ready, I'm getting in the shower, like I'm not even tripping off. Yeah, I look in the mirror to brush my teeth, but I have to intentionally stop. And this is not an everyday thing, but when I
Hmm.
think about it, I have to really be intentional about stopping, standing in the mirror and just looking at myself because your brain is thinking this and that while you're getting
Yeah.
dressed. You're really not paying attention to you.
Hmm.
So, yes, great advice. Stop, look at
Hmm.
yourself, and be intentional in that mirror and just really see who you are. Oh,
Yes.
okay, cool, good. Thank you so much for that piece of advice. And thank you also for being a guest on the Bougie Baldy podcast.
Thank you for the invite.
You are welcome. Now, are there any ways that people can find you, link with you? Like whenever your second book comes out, they'll be able to find it, or you'll be able to send an email to them to let them know. Like, how can people connect with you?
So I am on social media. I'm on Facebook, under my name, no gimmicks, no fake names, side names, Sandra McNair Moy. So I can be found on Facebook, again, on Instagram, same thing. My name, Sandra McNair Moy. Um, for information, for women with alopecia, I can be emailed at wwaconnecticut@gmail.com. Or, of course, you can hop in my DM and send me a message.
Okay, good. Thank you. All right. Well, we're going to get ready to wrap up. But before we wrap up, of course, I got to talk about the show, right? The Bougie Baldy show is out. It's available for you guys to watch the entire season. Season one is out. Some of the things we kind of hit on today are on that show. So go check it out. You can find it on ZandraTV.com. You can pull it up on any platform or any device. I'm sorry, any smart device. It is a streaming network. So if you have your phone, your tablet, computer, smart TV, whatever it is you have, go to ZandraTV.com. You'll be able to find the Bougie Baldy show under the lifestyle section. Look for Bald Confidence. You'll see a title saying Bald Confidence. Hey, that's our show, and make sure you check it out. We got 6 episodes, 6 really good episodes. A few of them are women who have created businesses out of their own hair loss journey, and they're sharing what that is and giving you a sample of what they do. And then we have several episodes of panelists. Panelists are what I call the Bougie Body crew, where we sit down and we just have real conversations about our experiences being baldies and things we've gone through and the advice we would give and all of those things. So make sure you go check that out. Thank you guys once again for listening to this episode of the Bougie Body Podcast, and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening and watching the Bougie Body Podcast. I appreciate you as an audience member. Now, make sure you go and check out the Bougie Body TV show. You can watch it from any device, any smart device. All you have to do is go to ZandraTV.com and you will be able to pull up my show. It is under the lifestyle section on the menu if you don't see it on the front page. So make sure you go check it out. And if you did not get it, it's ZandraTV.com. Go ahead and click on the link in my show notes if you want to make it easier for yourself, and it'll take you directly there. I will speak to you on the next episode of the Bougie Body Podcast. Bye.
Thank you for watching the Bougie Baldy podcast. Don't forget to subscribe